Hey, this is Arthur Robinson Jr. I am the creator of PowerfulInterviews.com. I am the creator of Audio Secrets Training Event.com. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this phenomenal video. In this interview, you're going to experience life-changing information that you will not find anywhere else. I have secured an incredible interview with a great friend of mine, international speaker, a successful businessman, the $9.4 billion man. His name is Jay Abraham. Jay Abraham is the best-selling author of his phenomenal book, which is called The Sticking Point Solution. Jay Abraham is the founder of his phenomenal business, which is called the Abraham Group. So in this interview, you're going to hear exclusively how Jay Abraham, he breaks down layman's terms about critical thinking. Also in this interview, Jay Abraham, he breaks down layman's terms about asset value in your business. Also in this interview, Jay Abraham, he breaks down layman's terms about men and women that have private equity companies. They invest in companies that are very profitable and have high-end yields and much, much more. So remember, this is not BS information. The right information will change your situation. Wealthy people, they take advice from other wealthy people, and unfortunately, broke people take advice from broke people. So right about now, go get your pen and your pad, sit back and relax, and write down some notes. In this interview that I'm going to reveal to each and every one of you with my great friend, successful businessman, Forbes magazine and Success magazine, they call Jay Abraham the $9.4 billion man. This interview, it will change your life. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you'll be well informed when I publish more underground audio interviews. So, check it out. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only, the powerful Jay Abraham to the show.
Thank you, Arthur. That's so sweet. And you're making me blush, but it's a pleasure to be with you. And as we said earlier, I have a limited schedule, but I want to make it as valuable for your listeners and for you. So I'm putty in your hands, okay?
I appreciate it, Jay. To everyone that's listening, I highly recommend go and get your pen and your pad right now. My great friend Jay Abraham is going to break down layman's terms about critical thinking and about building wealth. Is that correct, Jay?
If that's what you want to talk about, then that's correct. We can talk about anything in the business spectrum you want, Arthur, and it's my pleasure.
Now, what I'd like to know, and can you explain to the listeners in layman's terms, who is the powerful Jay Abraham? How long you been in your powerful industry, and what is your expertise?
When you say the powerful Jay Abraham, I think of the Wizard of Oz. Powerful Oz. Okay, I'll make it simple. I've been doing this for over 35 years. I got started very young, and my ability is that I have been exposed and involved with about 465 totally unrelated industries around the world, and had to work with them in real terms on the front lines of capitalism. So it taught me a multitude of ways to look at strategy, marketing, competitive advantage, revenue models, value creation, ancillary income, relational capital. And it gave me a great advantage over many people, not all, but many, because I can borrow success approaches from many industries and combine them into very powerful hybrids that an industry competitor can use to just vanquish everybody else because nobody understands all the other opportunities out there. So that's really what has given me my, if you want to call it power, superpower. But it's also a fact that I really have a great respect and I think a great admiration for the entrepreneur and how hard and passionately and dedicated they are, and how important they are really to our world. And I think that anybody who wants to create a business deserves to there's a word I want to use, deserves to be rewarded by gaining the greatest outcome for the greatest input. By that, Arthur, I mean you are rewarded in our life, business, world, relationship for the value you create for others, the contribution you make to others. So I'm very fixated and focused on helping businesses understand how to be more valuable, more respected, more preeminent in whatever they do than all their competitors. But the bottom line of your question, without being any longer, because I don't want to burn all our time just explaining my resume, is that I've gotten a chance to see all the alternative, more powerful, profitable, safer, impactful alternative ways to market, set up strategy, sell, advertise that are available that most people don't have a clue they have access to, and I'm able to basically install them in businesses and in industries that have never been exposed to them, and it provides great advantage.
Now, Jay, you have impacted entrepreneurs and business leaders from all over the world, and when you speak, people listen. Now, let's talk about the word entrepreneur. Now, the word entrepreneur means entreprendre, and that is a Latin word. It was invented in the 15th century in France, and a gentleman by the name of John Baptist, he invented the word, and over 200 years later, that word still exists, which is entrepreneur. So, entre means between, and pendre means to take. So, it means to take lower productivity and increase it to higher productivity. Can you explain to the listeners how are you increasing your productivity in your businesses?
Yes, I can. But it's very simple. If you look at any business, Arthur, it is it's the sum total of a lot of activities that are connected. Activities that include targeting an audience, attracting the audience, converting the audience to a buyer, maximizing ethically what that buyer purchases, compelling the buyer to continue purchasing, having other products or services if your basic product or service offering is limited, using the media or the distribution channels or the access vehicles, excuse my voice, that are available to maximum performance advantage, figuring out what to do to monetize people even though you may have nothing else in your stable to sell them, figuring out how to better convert prospects. It's a multitude of different elements that are all basically integrated together to produce and that's on the revenue side. Same thing on the production side. It's creating systems and processes that are cost effective and consumer, not just consumer favorable, but really impactful. And all of those have within them dozens of leverage points. And if you can take each one, Arthur, and make each one perform better, you can get a very powerful geometric effect. For example, every business generates their business by one of two different means. They either externally mine prospects and convert them by advertising or seminars or trade shows or sales forces or distributors, or they build it on word of mouth or referrals. And no matter what your mechanism, what your driver is, most people in business do not maximize the performance. I can take an ad and show you everything from the headline to the proposition to the credibility to the risk reversal to the bonus to the call to action that can be improved. And some of those factors I just listed can be improved performance-wise 5, 7 times. Well, if you can take the same cost, the same effort, the same access, the same capital, but make it produce 40% more, 50% more, 100% more, and you can then do that all the way through the cycle with leverage points that most people don't even recognize they have available in their business, you can double or redouble again ultimately the revenue you generate, but that additional revenue can be many times more profitable because the current revenue is covering your fixed cost. So all additional revenue above and beyond that normally only requires incremental cost. In other words, you've got a staff that may not be fully utilized. You've got a production facility that may not be fully utilized. You've got a delivery person that may not be fully utilized. You've got a technical support that may not be fully utilized. So adding an extra 40% really may not cost anywhere close to the servicing requirements that it does for the current volume. Is that too complicated, or does that make sense?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So you talked about the power of revenue. So sales is the avenue to more revenue?
Well, I mean, I think that's a little bit cliche-ish. I think that value creation in terms of being able to articulate, communicate, and demonstrate why either your product, your company, your service, your people are a better choice, and also, Arthur, why taking action is more selfish to the consumer, more important to them than procrastinating or choosing an alternative, is one of the ways you have to be masterful in order to command not only success, but the mind share and thus the commitment of the marketplace. I think today, if you look at any business, first of all, the competition, the generic competition, just the commoditized number of enterprises competing in the same category are so vast you can't even quantify it. That doesn't even count the alternative means of doing something. For example, if you and I were in the supplement business for weight loss, we have, I don't know, hundreds, maybe thousands of other companies selling weight loss supplements. But that's not just who we're competing against. We're competing against people who sell exercise equipment. We're competing against the Jenny Craigs who have portion-controlled food. We're competing against personal trainers. We're competing against gyms and membership. We're competing against books. We're competing against video. And we're competing against inertia, procrastination, equivocation on the part of the consumer. All those have to be recognized if you want to be a masterful marketing and strategic marketing success.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Now, you mentioned that phenomenal word, leverage points, and I know leverage is speed and leverage equals money. Can you explain to the listeners, Jay, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
That's a great question, Arthur, and I appreciate that because I have to think deeply to answer it authentically. I can give you a lot of answers, but the very best advice I probably ever got was that most people are fixated on the end product, whereas the process is all that we have in our life, so enjoy everything you're doing and everyone you're doing with it. The next one is anytime you have any interaction with any human being for any reason, business, personal, make them better off because you were in their life, and make sure they know they're better off so you don't just use your own definition of value or benefit because the consumer or the other side doesn't know it. In making money, I think it's, first of all, is understand who else has access to the same audience you want to reach, who else has that is not competitive, who else has the trust, the credibility, and has earned over time the respect, so that if they endorse you or partner with you or joint venture with you or recommend you to those people that they have the relationship with, those people will act right away and not at all even think about it. Also, piece of great advice is, if you are the smart, pardon my voice, if you are the smartest person in the room, Arthur, you are in the wrong room. You don't want to be the smartest. You want to be the dumbest. And the next one is travel outside of your industry comfort zone. Most people spend their whole life basically focused on their industry. And the great breakthroughs, the great growth, the great expanse of knowledge and understanding will come from going outside and examining and analyzing and studying all kinds of other industries and seeing what they do, how they do it, how they basically market, how they sell, how they advertise, their revenue models, their value creations, and then borrowing. And there's a concept that I invented years ago called funnel vision versus tunnel vision. It's borrowing the success processes, approaches, concepts from outside your industry and then applying them to yours, either singularly or in combination. I can go on and on, but there's a quick list.
Now, you talked about tunnel vision, and we have Decca and Hector Millionaires on the show right now, where they definitely want to hear what you have to say in regards to business acquisition. Now, let's talk about buying businesses. Now, you've been involved over 400 industries, and you've been involved over 7,200 sub-industries. When it comes to a successful center of influencer buying a business, would you buy a business for scalability and high growth mode, or would you buy a business just for strictly cash flow and buying their book of business?
That's an interesting question. I tend to operate with a philosophy of a blended. Many companies that I've not run, because I don't run businesses, but strategically directed, we have three integrative goals. One is to keep adding predictable front-end cash flow. Two is to be adding predictable long-term future revenue. And three, to be adding asset value that will make the business more of a wealth creator as opposed to an income generator. But we want all of those. So it depends. If you have an organization and you have influence and you can acquire a business and really respectfully, let's see, I want to use the word, not cut everything out, but if you can basically remove the bulk of the duplicative overhead and put it into your system, or you can generate buyers at almost no marketing cost or sales cost, then it's growth, but it's not really a high asset. It's basically just building a lot of revenue. But most small business owners really never sell their business. They just either go bankrupt or they close it because it's not systematic. It's not self-sustaining. It's driven by a unique personality, which is more of a lifestyle. And I think that as you get older, I'm older, Arthur, you look at a business and you say, okay, the income it generates is very important, but I need to either take that income and deploy it, invest it into passive assets that are going to work for me and appreciate, or I better make that business an asset that is going to be extremely more valuable when I'm done, when I want to either retire or move to a higher level, or even I want to use the business as an acquisition vehicle For others, I need predictability, I need systematization so that the business has enormous value, because people don't realize that arguably the ultimate wealth creator can be a business as a multiple wealth vehicle. You've got a business that can throw off income. You've got a business that every recurring and predictable profit dollar you add gives you, as long as it's a systematically based business, meaning you don't have to be there. If you sell it, every dollar gives you $3 to $15 more in value. So, I mean, you can use a business to acquire other businesses. You can use a business to fund real estate. Use a business for interesting tax ethical advantages. I mean, it's a very unique vehicle if you understand it. And a business should be looked at very much like an investment portfolio, Arthur, in that every activity and every asset you acquire, asset can be a prospect, a buyer, different categories of buyers. Certainly the other side of the quotient, which is your fixed assets. But if you look at your intangible assets and the buyers, the prospects, the types of buyers, and you compare it to an investment portfolio, it should be really and truly looked at as you got different assets for different purposes. Some are for income, some are for appreciation, some are for growth. And if you don't have that kind of an integrated portfolio, then you're going to be lopsided one way or the other. If you try to grow too much and it fails, you're going to not have cash flow. If you have cash flow but you don't use it for anything but lifestyle, there's a very interesting point, Arthur. I'm shifting. It's not an ADD moment. It's just an interesting perspective. Mm-hmm. One of my colleagues who I really admire says that most small business owners, and small can be up to many tens of millions of dollars, when they make a lot of money, what they typically do is, instead of investing in team members, people who have more knowledge than they do, more skills than they do, so they can grow that enterprise for them, they'll go out and they'll buy a bigger house, or they'll buy a Maserati, or they'll go on a big trip with their family, but they don't really reinvest it because they're not looking at the business as an exit asset vehicle. They're looking at it more as a lifestyle income generator. And so it depends on what your goal is. I'm giving you a complicated answer, but I hope that's interesting.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Most active investors and credit investors that is in my network, they basically focus on sales and on a profitable company's EBITDA. They want to know, what are you keeping on your net cash? And that determines to the investor if they want to invest in that profitable business or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a friend of mine that was talking about that most smaller minded entrepreneurs, they look at profit and they look at expense. If you look at it the way a private equity investor would, you look at yield. You want to know what's the yield. What is your investment yielding you now? How predictable it is? Whether that yield is also appreciating. And there's a lot of things I don't think many entrepreneurs really know that are available for them to really, let's say, leverage up. I use the word leverage up, but when I use leverage, I don't use it in terms of financial liability, where you take $1 and you turn it into 10, but you're on the hook for the other 9. I talk about taking an action, an effort, an opportunity, an investment, and making it deliver 10 times more yield for the dollar, or 10 times more leads, or 50% more conversion, or 80% higher unit of sale, or 2 times more frequency of buying, or adding products on the front end or the back end that double or triple the lifetime value, the profit, the total profit that category of a buyer is worth to you. It's a whole different way of looking at things, Arthur.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Jay, let's talk about money. Now, I know money is not value. Money is just a facilitator to do transactions. Can you explain to the listeners, how would you define money?
You're asking some good questions. I like this. Well, I don't know that I've ever thought about it. I think it's a currency it's currency of transaction. It's what most people think they need to transact some kind of a business, whether it's personal, whether it's commercial. It's the value. It's the currency of exchange required to transact any kind of a business, I think. And when I say any kind of a business, I don't mean owning a business. I mean going to get your groceries. You got to give them something of value. It's a form of value that is acceptable enough to the recipient that they will in turn give you something that you value.
Wow. Jay, now you have coached a lot of phenomenal, successful influencers. I know you coached Damon John and Tony Robbins, and I've seen a phenomenal video that you did at the 10X Growth Con with Grant Cardone. Y'all did a powerful presentation to the audience with a Q&A. When it comes to speaking, now, I know the speaking industry is a $780 billion industry, so it's huge right now. And we have entrepreneurs and business owners that's on the show right now. They're in the process of pursuing a professional speaking career. When it comes to speaking, can you explain to the listeners, should they speak for free or should they charge a published speaking fee starting out as a professional speaker?
It's not the right question, Arthur, and I'm not being rude. The question is, first of all, what is your business model? If you're just going to speak, are you doing it for a lifetime primary income? Are you doing it as a vehicle to get your brand out there for your business? Are you doing it because you have a number of what I call back-end services? And if you are going to speak and nobody knows you, what is your value criteria? Have you turned around $1 billion company? Have you acquired in your genre? Have you acquired 100 companies without for no more than $1 a piece and sold them for millions? You have to have a story that is worthy of an audience wanting to hear it, and you have to have a distinctive enough positioning that makes you rise above and beyond what we call the maddening crowd. But you also, if you're going to speak, you have to have what's called the you attitude, which means you have to really examine, appreciate, understand, respect, and be able to continuously communicate and acknowledge to the audience on their wavelength, not yours. And you have to have something, your proposition has to offer a very valuable benefit, advantage, protection, enhancement, or entertainment that is big enough, fascinating, or prized enough that the audience wants it. And if you don't have all those things, it doesn't really matter whether you charge, because nobody's going to want to pay you. It doesn't matter if you're free, because no one's going to want to accept you. You have to go work backwards. And I think I apologetically told you in the beginning, and I apologize to your entire audience, I had hoped to have twice as much time, and I do not, because of an unexpected divergence that I have to attend to. But why don't you ask me, the biggest question you would like me to answer in conclusion, so I can know with at least certainty that I added as much value as humanly possible. Okay, Arthur?
All right. I wrote down 3 powerful words, 5 being the highest J and 1 being the lowest, so you can read them in your own influential way. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Accountability.
I think accountability to yourself is first, and that's probably a 10, even in 1 to 5. Accountability to others is second. You give your word, you need to honor it. If you can't honor it, you need to not explain it, but apprise people. You don't. Your integrity and your integrity is probably the most valuable asset you've got. There's a statement, Arthur, that someone told me when I was young, and it changed a lot of my life direction because I was a little too fat fast and loose when I was young. I was too bright for my own good, and they said, you can lose all your money, and if you keep your integrity, there's always going to be someone who will back you. But if you keep your money and sell out your integrity, you'll never get it back. So I think that accountability to yourself and others is enormous. What's your next word?
Perseverance.
Perseverance is omni-important, but there is a caveat. And the caveat is if you persevere down the wrong path or following the wrong strategy or being tactical, you are either going to go insane because doing more of the same thing that doesn't work is insanity. Secondly, even if it works, you're going to underperform or suboptimize. So I would say that perseverance is in direct proportion to strategic direction, and that's direct proportion to the business revenue model that you are pursuing. But if you've got a viable strategy and you have a viable model and you have a good or a great value proposition, it's very rare. Think about this, Arthur, and then I want to rush through the rest of them as a courtesy to you. But if you think about a child, a young baby, 1-year-old, who's learning how to walk, talk, eat, speak, I said talk, poop, ride a bike, whatever it is, they are terrible in the beginning. It is very rare that most of us are competent, are proficient, or are really successful in the beginning of any endeavor. And we expect others to just walk, just embrace it. I think perseverance, when coupled and melded to those other factors, is very, very critical. But persevering on the wrong path is basically self-flagellation. What's your next word?
Health.
I'll tell you what. I'm in my late 60s, and I was an exercise fanatic when I was younger, but not the kind that was balanced. I did all kinds of crazy upper body things. I have no joints anymore. I got 8 inches of titanium in my neck. I've got arthritis. And you don't realize until you're older that all the wealth in the world is useless if you don't have the mind and the body to enjoy it. And as you get older and you get more humility and more appreciation for the wonderment of life, you realize that without health, you can never operate at your best. And if your health fails you, all your achievements are meaningless. And living a life of misery is pathetic. When you're healthy, you perform better, and health also goes along, Arthur, with balance. A lot of things that entrepreneurs do that I think are actually disadvantageous is they work too many long hours, and they don't allow their brain and their body to reinvigorate itself, to refuel, to reflect, to reset. And I think that you're asking, I'm very impressed with you. You've asked some very, very, really great focused questions. What's the next word?
Building great relationships.
all of life, whether it's business, personal, professional, it's about relationships. And relationship building is it cannot be achieved if it's inauthentic. And by that I mean you can pander and patronize and really kiss ass, so to speak, but that's not what a relationship is all about. A relationship is about really connecting on a deep level and being able to listen and hear and care and not putting yourself ahead. The most selfish thing somebody can do in a business world is be selfless, put the other person first, and be and the richness of life comes from relationships. It comes from the growth of other people influencing you. It comes from collaboration. It comes from the joy of conversation. It comes from being able to see alternative perspectives. These are all wonderful questions. I'm actually very impressed with you. You're a very impressive young man. What's your next word?
Key performance indicators.
I'll tell you what. You're just very, 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 very good interview, Arthur. KPIs, long before that word existed, we were into quantification, correlation, implication, metrics, because it's all important. If you don't know what a prospect is worth, how many convert, what different sources of clients are worth, what your incremental cost is, what your marginal profits are, if you don't understand your allowable cost to acquire a first-time buyer, if you don't understand the different values of different sources and types of buyers, if you don't understand anything around that, you're operating blindly. You're either spending too much or too little, but never the right amount. And if you don't understand it, you can't optimize. And optimization, it's a real estate easily known term. It's getting the highest and the best use of your asset, your time, your opportunity, your people, your marketing, your advertising, your everything.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Family is probably the most overlooked and invaluable catalyst in the whole thing. And now that doesn't mean that every entrepreneur has a family. Some are steadfast bachelors or bachelorettes, and they don't want marriage and they don't want children. I happen to have been married 3 times, and I'm not saying that with pride. I'm saying it with embarrassment because I was too lopsided in my first 2 in business. But I have 7 children, and they're wonderful, and watching them grow and develop and the lives they live is very wonderful. But there's an adage about no man is an island, no woman is an island either. The more you have connection, the more joy, fulfillment, and happiness you have in being alive. And there's nothing more tragic than being a miserable, unfulfilled, unhappy, but marginally successed financial entrepreneur. And you're really interesting, Arthur. And I'm saddened that I have to prematurely leave, but let's continue this on another session. You want to?
Yes, I definitely want to.
I hope I added value on this one.
Yes, you did. You had a phenomenal value. Jay, can you explain to the listeners, what do you like to do for fun?
I will explain, but it's not going to be something that I like to learn about businesses. I love businesses, but I also like to learn about anything and everything that exists. I find that my advantage is understanding the world, understanding how things work, how people think, how different businesses operate, how different segments of society think differently, how different industries operate, how people have different hopes and dreams and different interests. I like and I enjoying people, the process, the moment, but I also love business. I love business, so it's not really work, it's a pleasure, and it's always my pleasure to get involved, but I love talking to people and listening to them answer. I don't like talking and just waiting for them to have a break so that I can, get my thoughts in and not really pay attention. I like to really acknowledge people because that means you're really in the moment in the conversation and you're present. And when you're present, you grow. You grow because you see alternative ways that other people see and experience life. And I have to go, but I hope this is helpful.
This has been very helpful, Jay. I appreciate you coming on my show today because the whole premise of my show is to educate entrepreneurs and business owners on the international scale that they can live the life that they truly desire, but they have to be open to these important principles. So I don't like what I see what's on the news, so I create my own news.
I like that. You're a very impressive young man. Send me a copy of this. I want to listen to it myself, and thank you, and thank everybody for staying on. Goodbye, Arthur.
Well, thank you, Jay. And before you sign off, can you explain to the listeners exactly where they can find you?
Sure. Probably the easiest one is Abraham.com, but the best one for most people is Abraham.com/50 shades, 50 shades. We have just an amazing array of wonderful content. You don't even have to opt in, and none of it sells anything. I think I told you offline, Arthur, that long ago we realized that the vast majority of smaller businesses can't afford my fees because they're high, nor can I afford to work with them on performance because they don't have enough assets or infrastructure. So we decided if we're not going to profit, let's invest in them. So we invest by gifting and buying people better resources than most people sell. And if they go there, it's great. If you're big enough and you have the resources and the capacity, we always are interested in examining relationship possibilities with long-term revenue sharing partners, fee-paying clients. We call it masterful thinking partners, where we really collaborate at a very elevated level of integrated strategy, business model, sort of worldview, and that's cool. I have to go, but you are being very gracious, and your questions, honestly, were excellent. I'm very impressed. Thank you, Arthur.
Oh, well, thank you, Jay, and I appreciate you coming on my show and educating my audience about building wealth and critical thinking. I gladly appreciate it. You are a gift from God.
Thank you, and send the audio to Desiree, and thank you, and the very best of luck to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jay Abraham. To everyone that's listening, I highly recommend get involved with the phenomenal Jay Abraham, the $9.4 billion man. You hear the passion that came through his voice on my show today. He broke down layman's terms about building massive wealth. He also broke down layman's terms about relational capital. Jay Abraham, he also broke down layman's terms about predictable asset value. And also, Jay Abraham broke down layman's terms about risk reversal. And that's extremely important if you have a product or service. You should have on your website a 30-day money-back guarantee or a 45-day money-back guarantee to put your customers' mindsets at ease. Because if you believe in your product or your service and your clients are not happy with your product or your service, you should have a personal guarantee that they can get their money back, and that is a risk reversal. I highly recommend go to Jay Abraham's website. He has phenomenal content on his website that could take your mindset and your business to a whole nother level. Go to www.abraham.com. That's www.abraham.com.
yahoo.com. And I promise you, the content on his website will definitely increase your mindset. You will definitely experience critical thinking, and it will increase your bottom line in regards to increasing your revenues. But remember, you have to implement what you learn. So to everyone that's listening, remember that the strongest asset that each and every one of you have is your brain and what you think about and what you take action on that will become your reality, and your mentality creates your reality. May God bless each and every one of you, and bye for now. Thank you, Jay. Have a pleasant day, everyone. Here's another bonus tip. Hope this exclusive, powerful interview helped you fully understand about critical thinking and how you can take your business to the next level, building massive wealth. My great friend, international speaker, successful businessman, the $9.4 billion man, Jay Abraham. Jay Abraham is the founder of the Abraham Group, and Jay Abraham helped over 10,000 clients increase their bottom lines, and he has been involved in over 400 business industries, and he has been involved in over 7,200 sub-industries worldwide. So in this interview, you're going to hear exclusively about Jay Abraham. He breaks down layman's terms about critical thinking. Jay Abraham, he also breaks down layman's terms about your USP, your unique selling proposition. Jay Abraham, he also breaks down in layman's terms in this exclusive interview about relational capital and predictable asset value. And that's extremely important when it comes to building your business. Jay Abraham, he also breaks down layman's terms about integrated portfolios. And also Jay says in this exclusive interview, people that are active investors, men and women that are in the private equity industry, investors always invest in businesses that have high-end yields and much, much more. If you want to learn more about business, marketing, advertising, copyright, and scaling businesses, investing in high-end real estate, or how to live a healthier life, or building massive wealth, you can contact me directly at 215-490-2516. That's area code 215-490-2516. Or you can email me at Arthur Robinson, the number 18 at yahoo.com. That's Arthur, Arthur, Robinson, Robinson, the number 18 at yahoo.com. And I highly recommend listen to this exclusive interview over and over and over again so it can reinforce your learning. Once again, my name is Arthur Robinson Jr., and I highly recommend go to Jay Abraham's website. It will take your mindset and your business to a whole nother level. Go to www.abraham.com. That's www.abraham, ABRAHAM.com. Jay Abraham has massive content that can increase your revenues to a whole nother level. Thank you, and thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to Arthur Robinson Jr. from PowerfulInterviews.com, your number one resource for life-changing information you won't find anywhere else. Check out our blog for weekly updates and new powerful interviews. For more information or to contact Arthur, send an email to info@powerfulinterviews.com. That's info@powerfulinterviews.com.